Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Stellar Cycles podcast, your hot girl database for all things we wish we were taught, but get to learn together now. Everything pertaining to your femininity, your cycle, and your wellness, and your walk in life as a woman. I'm your host, Alina, and today we are going to be talking about women in history who knew exactly how to wield their feminine power. It is Women's History Month, so the goal with this episode is I want to share with you some incredible female historical figures, whether you've heard of them or not, as well as highlight their feminine power and influence and how they were so good at achieving what they wanted. We will also talk about how they were taken out, in quotes, when they got too powerful. So today I'll be talking to you guys about Hedy Lamarr, Queen Cleopatra, Marilyn Monroe, and Hazel Dorothy Scott. But before that, as always, I like to give you updates on my life. It's honestly been such a wonderful February. I've been spending a lot of times with loved ones. I've been working on my relationships. My parents actually came to visit LA last week. My mom came down to get certified in hair extensions, which is so random because she's been a nurse for 10 to 15 years. But how cool of my dad to support her and literally drive her down from Spokane, Washington, which takes about 2 days to get down to LA. And he just kind of hung around while she was in her classes. She was taking her hair extensions course from like morning to night. But she's so excited about this new skill that she's gained. And I just had a great day with them. I took Nova and we drove out to Malibu. I hung out with my dad, then we went into Beverly Hills and picked up my mom, and then went back to Malibu to the same exact place. If any of you guys have been to Malibu Farm, you know exactly how good it is and just how beautiful that coastal vibe is and the Pacific Coast Highway. So what I took from this experience is my parents are cool, and I wish I could be like them in the future, just constantly expanding my skills and learning new things. I also had a very good friend, Sarah, come to visit me in San Diego last weekend. My husband was traveling. He went to Puerto Rico for a presentation in the dental world. So it was a perfect time for us to have a girls' weekend. She flew in from San Luis Obispo, which is kind of Central Coast, California. And what's actually crazy about Sarah is we met in church when I first moved down to Loma Linda for school. And she came up to me and she asked me where I get my hair done. So essentially she complimented my hair and we kind of got to talking on hair, and she is the reason that I have my incredible, talented hair artist here in San Diego. Her name is Alyssa Cowan, and Sarah actually brought me out to San Diego and showed me Point Loma and took me to all these beautiful spots. And it was then that I was like, this was back in 2018. It was then that I was like, oh, I'm for sure gonna live here. Made up my mind all the way back then, so it was a very full circle special moment for us to spend time here together and really bond and draw close together. We watched Love is Blind, which if you guys are watching that, you know this season is absolutely insane, and that's all I can say about it. I don't want to give too much away. And of course, it's Love Month, so I've been having a lot of fun with my husband. We've been going out on dates, trying new restaurants, really carving out time and space for each other, so that's been extra special. So what's next for this show? What is coming for Stellar Cycles? Well, I've been promising you guys video for quite some time. Looking into that, kind of looking at the options between renting a studio or a space that already has all of the setup, or doing my own setup. Obviously, the latter is going to be a lot more involved and take a lot more work. So I'm kind of researching both options for you guys, but I know you guys want a visual aspect to this show as well. So we are working on that. And just been trying to grow the podcast through word of mouth. Our episode with Nikki, our last episode about meditation, it had the most downloads out of all of my episodes. So I'm really glad to see that people are really picking up that information, sharing it, and that it's quite a popular topic. But thank you everyone who listens, and thank you all of my friends and loved ones, and even strangers that I've never met, for supporting this show. It's so fun to get on here for you and record every single week. I've also gotten back to playing with makeup. I did really well with this when I was in college, and then I kind of fell off, especially in the world of like working in the hospital and doing ultrasound. I was always in scrubs, always in masks. I was like, there's literally no point to me doing my makeup except for special occasions, but that does make you lose some skills and some of your talent. So every single day I've been putting on my makeup and trying new techniques, trying new looks, and that literally like opens up an inner child in me. I don't know what it is. And finally, I'm still applying for all sorts of jobs. I kind of got over the fear of like, oh, if you don't hold down a job for a year, even if you hate it, then you're a piece of trash person. No, your 20s are literally made for you to figure out what it is that you want to do, what you're good at. And there is no honor in staying somewhere that you know is not your thing. If something's not working, you're not supposed to do it harder. You know what I mean? That's what we're taught in our society, but just try something else. So that's what I've been doing. I've been opening myself up to lots of different work possibilities and opportunities. So we'll see how that goes. I will be giving you guys updates. So those are the updates that I have for you guys now. Hopefully more to come for the next episode. Who knows where life will take me. Let's get back to our Girl Bosses in History episode. In celebration of Women's History Month, we are going to explore the lives of some extraordinary women who were able to harness their feminine power in remarkable ways. So we'll be discussing the trials, triumphs, and lasting legacies of figures such as Hedy Lamarr, Queen Cleopatra, Marilyn Monroe, and Hazel Dorothy Scott. I know there's so many more women that have absolutely altered the course of history, but these are the 4 that I chose to focus on in this episode. There's not enough time in a day for me to go over everyone, but these I learned about recently and have really been wanting to share with my listeners. So sit back, relax, and join me on this journey through history as we honor these incredible women and their indomitable spirits. Starting off with Hedy Lamarr. Until this week, I did not know who she was. I actually heard about her on another podcast, The Giggly Squad. Paige DeSorbo and Hannah Berner were talking about her, and she has a documentary on her life. So who is Hedy Lamarr? She was an actress and an inventor. She was known for her stunning beauty and her captivating performances in Hollywood's golden era. Hedy Lamarr was indeed a force to be reckoned with, but what many people don't know is that Hedy was not just a pretty face, but she was also a brilliant mind. She was born in Austria, and Hedy was an inquisitive child, right? She was very, very curious, who had a keen interest in acting and technology from a very young age. Her fascination with the world of cinema led her to a successful acting career where she was often hailed as one of the most beautiful women in the world. But because people were so focused on her beauty, a lot of the time she was not taken seriously for anything else that she brought to the table. Like, people literally thought she was way too beautiful to be as smart as she was. Acting was not Hedy's only accomplishment. Like I said earlier, she had a brilliant mind and was a prolific inventor. During World War II, she actually co-invented the frequency hopping spread spectrum, a pioneering technology that is now, today, at the core of many wireless communications, such as Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So we all use something that this woman invented back in the golden era of Hollywood. Now, this revolutionary invention played a crucial role in the Allied victory and has had a profound impact in our daily lives today. So the technologies and inventions that Hedy Lamarr was responsible for ended up being used by the military and helped the Allied forces win World War II. But of course, we never hear about this because she probably was more memorialized as just a beautiful, stunning, talented Hollywood actress. Now, Hedy's life was not without its challenges. She actually had to flee her home country to escape the Nazis, and she was often underestimated and overlooked because of her stunning beauty. But she was a woman of resilience and determination. She did not let these obstacles deter her. Instead, she actually used her challenges as fuel for her ambition, proving to the world that women can be both beautiful and brilliant. The sad part about her story is that, and this happened to both Hedy Lamarr and Marilyn Monroe, is that people who were as powerful and as entrenched in powerful groups and circles, such as powerful actresses or beautiful actresses that these men wanted to have around them, they were also privy to a lot of sensitive conversations that maybe the higher up officials did not want them knowing. So Hedy Lamarr was kept on a cocktail of uppers and downers, essentially drugs that now, when she was taking her uppers, she was actually up all night creating all these crazy inventions. And I mean, why wouldn't you, when you're strung out on meth, I guess. But it's kind of insane that these women, such as Hedy Lamarr and Marilyn Monroe, they were actually very carefully dosed and controlled by these substances, and Dr. Feelgood too, who was giving drugs to the Kennedys and just a lot of other Hollywood prominent people during that time. Definitely something to look into if you're interested about that. Now, Hedy Lamarr left an unforgettable legacy. Her contributions to the world of technology were not fully recognized until late in her life, which really kind of sucks, but her impact is, of course, undeniable based on what we see today. Her story serves as an inspiration to women everywhere, reminding us that we are not defined by our looks, but by our intellect and our abilities and what we're able to do for the good of humankind. As we celebrate Women's History Month, let's remember and appreciate powerful women like Hedy Lamarr, who paved the way for us, who paved the way for women in technology and science, women in STEM. They are a testament to the immense potential and power that women possess. If you want to look a little deeper into Hedy Lamarr's story, you can search the film Bombshell, The Hedy Lamarr Story. It was made in 2017, and Hedy Lamarr is spelled Hedylamarr. That'll be on my movie list to watch. I am really curious to learn more about this woman and her inventions. Moving on to Queen Cleopatra. Now, this is an Egyptian figure that I'm sure everyone has heard of at least once in their life. But how much do we really know about Queen Cleopatra, the final pharaoh of Egypt? Well, today we're going to dive a little bit into the life of one of the most influential women in history, Queen Cleopatra VII of Egypt. She was known to be a woman of unmatched charisma, intelligence, and political acumen. And Cleopatra was a woman who knew exactly how to wield her power and influence to her advantage. Her feminine influence, right? She did not act like men or like male rulers of that time. And she wasn't necessarily the most gorgeous or stunning woman either. She just knew exactly how to make power plays. Her story is a testament to her exceptional leadership skills and her unique ability to navigate the intricacies of politics, especially back in that time when there were just so many wars, everyone was fighting for territory, for resources, but Cleopatra very often came out on top. So let's take a look at Cleopatra's early life. Cleopatra was born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, a family known for its political power and influence, and from a very young age, she was groomed for leadership. She was endowed with a keen intellect, receiving an education that made her fluent in multiple languages and well-versed in politics. Queen Cleopatra, from a very young age, spent a lot of time at the Library of Alexandria, which, of course, burned down during her lifetime. It was a huge loss to her, but she studied history, culture, languages, everything that was going to make her such a great ruler in the future. And these skills would later play a crucial role in her successful reign as a formidable ruler. Now, Cleopatra's reign, it was a period of very significant political and social change for Egypt. The way that rulers work within a dynasty is you can only come to the throne when your parent dies. So when Cleopatra's father died, they think around the age when she was 17 or 18. So she became the pharaoh of Egypt, but a lot of the time in Egyptian tradition, there wasn't ever really one singular pharaoh. They kind of had to have a co-pharaoh, and a lot of the time they had to marry their brother or sister in order to achieve this. Cleopatra was a visionary leader. She implemented many political and economic reforms that actually strengthened Egypt's economy. When her father passed on and left her with a lot of Egypt's debt and kind of not in the best case scenario, and Egypt owed quite a lot to Rome and to Julius Caesar, who was Cleopatra's father's friend. But she knew exactly how to win his affection and appeal to him in such a way that he actually forgave Egypt's debt to Rome. And it kind of allowed for Cleopatra to kind of have a springboard from which to actually make Egypt flourish, right? Because if they had been focused on repaying all of this debt, they might have never gotten out of their hole. But she knew exactly how to beguile Julius Caesar, how to be interesting to him. And she wasn't used to women who were on the same level as him, because in Roman culture, women were seen as lower than the men. They didn't have the same rights. They certainly were not as educated as Queen Cleopatra was. So that very much took him by surprise, and he definitely fell in love with her because she was so interesting to be around and so powerful. Now, the other men in the Roman Senate and Roman Empire, they kind of started spreading rumors about her because they just weren't used to seeing a woman in their midst who was so powerful and so smart and intelligent and could hold a conversation with the Roman emperor. Cleopatra ended up expanding her empire's influence through her understanding of power dynamics on an international level. Remember, she studied this for years before she became pharaoh, so she had a very great understanding of how power dynamics and power plays work. And her ability to wield power was evident in her strategic alliances and relationships with powerful Roman generals such as Julius Caesar. I'll remind you, that was the one that got stabbed by all of his homies in the Senate because they just kind of felt like, I don't know, is he taking on this too hoity-toity of a version of himself? Like, is he seeing himself as too high? He's starting to act like a king. We don't like that, so we're going to kill him. Cleopatra, who had by now had a child from Julius Caesar, was actually in Rome at that time, and she had to flee because they could have come and gotten her next. So she fled back to Egypt, and eventually she got with Julius Caesar's successor and friend, Mark Antony. And these relationships not only strengthened her position, but also played a crucial role in protecting Egypt's interests. Cleopatra was a master at power dynamics, using her charm and her intelligence to her advantage, ensuring her reign and influence remained unchallenged. And this was very much a struggle in the Egyptian dynasty because as long as any of your siblings were alive and you were a pharaoh, they could have claim to the throne. So her siblings were very much her rivals. They were planning to kill her, so she had to kind of kill them first, even the one that she was married to. And even though she was married to her siblings at various points, she only had children and had relations with extremely powerful men that could move her forward and make her a stronger leader and enrich her country, which, let's take a lesson from that. Of course, as a very powerful leader and as a pharaoh of Egypt, Cleopatra's life, it was not without its challenges and controversies. Like I said previously with the sibling rivalry, she faced opposition from within her own family, as well as from the Roman Empire, and even sometimes her own people. For the most part, she was very loved in Egypt, but of course, there's always other rulers who can send in mercenaries and kind of start paying off people within your own nation to turn against you. However, Cleopatra was a woman of grace and determination, so she navigated through these obstacles, maintaining her power and position until the very end. She really did. Her resilience in the face of adversity, it's a testament to her strength and tenacity. Cleopatra's reign has left an indelible mark on history. Her leadership, her strategic thinking, and her resilience are celebrated, making her not just a powerful queen, but also a symbol of female empowerment. What an intelligent, smart woman that she could connect Egypt in such a way to its rivals, technically, Rome and Greece, and just allowing life to be completely different for her people, for the most part. I also think her life serves as a testament to the limitless potential of women in leadership roles. Women can actually thrive in leadership roles, inspiring generations of women to strive for power and influence. The one thing that stood out to me about Cleopatra is that when she was finally captured by Octavian, who is Mark Antony's rival in Rome, who was so mad at her, he did not want her to continue living. Once he captured her and she knew that her death was close because he was going to want to kill his captive, right? The final pharaoh of Egypt. She did not let him kill her. Instead, she took her own life. And Cleopatra, because she was so smart, she studied various types of poisons, so she knew exactly which ones were not going to hurt her and were not going to disfigure her body. She did not allow Octavian to kill her. And when he came back, he was so pissed because killing your opponent is like a trophy pretty much, right? But she took that chance away from him. She was the only one who could decide when her life ended. As we commemorate Women's History Month, it's crucial to remember influential women such as Cleopatra. Her life is a powerful reminder of what women are capable of when we're given the chance to lead. And Cleopatra's story continues to inspire, reminding us that the power and influence is not confined to one gender. Her life serves as a beacon, like the Lighthouse of Alexandria, guiding women towards the path of leadership, resilience, and empowerment. If you want to know more about Queen Cleopatra, there's a great series on Netflix that's called Queen Cleopatra. And wow, this show had me captivated for a couple days. Honestly, it just blew me out of the water. I did not know most of these things about Queen Cleopatra, but wow, what an incredible final ruler of Egypt she was. Next, we're going to move on to Marilyn Monroe. We all know our girl Marilyn. She is an icon, a legend in American culture. If I say Marilyn Monroe, you know exactly what she looks like, exactly what I'm talking about. She was an unforgettable woman. She was known for her captivating presence, her undeniable charm, as well as her talent. Marilyn Monroe was a woman who commanded attention and left a lasting impact on the world. And her story also serves as a testament to her resilience and a reminder of the incredible power that lies within each woman. Marilyn Monroe's early life was not very glamorous. In fact, Marilyn Monroe had very poor, very humble beginnings. She was born Norma Jean Mortensen, and her early life was sadly filled with hardships. She actually spent most of her childhood in foster homes and orphanages, but despite these challenges, she always aspired for more. She had a dream of becoming an actress, and she pursued this dream with unwavering determination. She knew exactly how to morph into the type of woman she wanted to be and that other people wanted to have or be around. One of her favorite books was The Thinking Body, and this is a book that I'm reading myself currently, and it's all about how your brain can actually guide your body to move and behave in a certain way based on the type of reaction you want to get out of people, which is kind of crazy. So she trained herself heavily for this role that she wanted to hold in life and on the big screen. Marilyn Monroe rose to fame as a model and actress in the 1950s. She became one of the most popular sex symbols of the era. Why do we think this was? Well, she had a remarkable ability to captivate audiences with not just her physical beauty, but also her talent and vulnerability. Marilyn Monroe had a feel to her. She knew exactly how to draw people in. And of course, this was something that she honed and crafted over many, many years. Her performances in films like The 7-Year Itch and Some Like It Hot showcased her talent and left an indelible mark on Hollywood. Marilyn Monroe, being as beautiful and talented and successful of a woman that she was, her downfall was always romantic relationships. I think there was a void that Marilyn was constantly trying to fill. I think this stems from childhood, that she didn't have the love and the care that every child needs and deserves. And so when she started to emerge onto the Hollywood scene as this beautiful, young, desirable woman, of course, she fell prey to the romantic relationships and situations that she often found herself in, and that honestly were disguised as helping her propel her career and get further and further up in the Hollywood scene. Now, Marilyn's influence extended beyond the screen. She challenged the norms of the time, advocating for her rights and standing up against exploitation in the film industry. So she was a woman ahead of her time, unafraid to assert her power and demand respect. But of course, this made Marilyn Monroe a dangerous weapon. She was famously close to the Kennedys and perhaps even had an affair with President John F. Kennedy. And we know that men love to blab, so she was probably privy to many secrets that the US government could not have her knowing, right? And of course, there's so many different theories and conspiracies on her death and whether or not she really did overdose or if she was taken out, again, because she knew too much. But despite her success, of course, she had these challenges that she went through. She struggled with personal issues, I think quite a lot stemming from self-worth and feeling like she was never enough. And of course, facing constant scrutiny from the public and the media. We see how this even affects our celebrities and even some influencers in the modern times. It's really not easy to have that many eyes on you all the time. But Marilyn did not let these challenges define her. She still continued to shine, showcasing her strength and her resilience. Marilyn Monroe's legacy continues to inspire women all around the world. Her life serves as a reminder that every woman has the power to define her own journey, to mold herself into the type of person that she's striving to become, to change other people's perspective of her, and to make a lasting impact. So she was a woman who knew how to wield her feminine power, how to appeal to certain people and certain things. And of course, she still found a way to showcase her strength, resilience, and unapologetic femininity to the world. If there is anything that Marilyn Monroe was, it was a symbol of femininity, absolutely. If you guys watch any of her movies, it's a great way to kind of learn how to be more feminine and how to appeal to men's desire to have femininity in their lives and their desire to protect and to help you with things. So as we continue to celebrate Women's History Month in March, we don't want to forget the remarkable women like Marilyn Monroe who have left a lasting legacy. And just like Hedy Lamarr and Queen Cleopatra, we're reminded of the incredible power and potential that exists within every single woman. Marilyn's life serves as an inspiration, reminding us to embrace our unique journey and the power that lies within. If you want to watch some movies on Marilyn, one of my favorites, this one showed me so much, was Love, Marilyn. This movie talks about the letters that she wrote to many people in her life, her lovers, her friends, and really gives us an intimate insight into the mind of Marilyn Monroe, as well as you can check out Marilyn Monroe, The Final Days. I haven't seen that one, but it's definitely on my list. Last but certainly not least, we are now going to delve into the life and influence of the phenomenal Hazel Dorothy Scott. She was a remarkable woman who showcased her talent and used her platform to challenge racial segregation and discrimination. Hazel Dorothy Scott was a Black artist. She was a jazz musician, and she was born in Trinidad and Tobago, but raised in Harlem, New York. Hazel was a child prodigy. She was so good at music, and her mother, who was a music teacher, recognized her talent and nurtured her passion from piano at a young age. So by the age of 8 years old, she was a student at the prestigious Juilliard School of Music. Just to give you some context, Juilliard doesn't take students younger than 16, so for Miss Hazel to get into the school as a musical prodigy at the age of 8 is a huge deal. And honestly, word to her mother for recognizing this passion and this talent and continuing to foster that instead of, forcing Hazel into something a little more socially accepted or a little more defined and outlined. Hazel established herself as a gifted jazz and classical pianist, as well as a talented singer, and she was a leading figure in the jazz world and achieved significant success in both music and film. Hazel was actually known for her swinging the classics style, where she blended classical music with jazz. How cool is that? If you have the chance, definitely listen to some Hazel Scott. Now, Hazel was not only a musician, she was also a staunch civil rights activist. Yes, she didn't just sit on her fame and her prestige. She actually used her power to speak out against discrimination. This was a time when racial segregation was prevalent, probably in the 50s and 60s, and Hazel really used her platform to fight against this. And she was known for refusing to perform in segregated venues, and this was her way of setting a precedent for other artists. I think this was incredibly brave of her because I'm sure she lost out on money, on engagements, on appearances because of this, but good on her for standing what she believed to be was right, and also being a prominent figure that other people could take example from. Hazel Dorothy Scott left an unforgettable legacy, just like the other 4 women that we spoke on in this episode. Her contributions to music, film, and civil rights continue to inspire and influence us today. Her life serves as a powerful reminder for us of the impact that one woman can make when she uses her talent and platform for a good cause and a change. Now, as we remember these powerful women in history, such as Hazel Dorothy Scott, we're reminded of the intrinsic strength and potential that each woman possesses. And Hazel's life in particular encourages us to stand firm on our convictions and use our talents to make a difference. If you guys want to get into more about Hazel Scott, you can watch the movie The Disappearance of Hazel Scott, because I think there's also some controversy about how she died or ceased to exist. How interesting, right? That both Hazel Scott and Marilyn Monroe, as well as Hedy Lamarr, they all seem to be messed with at the end of their life because they had gotten so powerful, right? Queen Cleopatra seemed to be the only one who could decide in which way she left existence because she refused to let anybody take her life from her. To conclude today's episode, you guys, happy Women's History Month. Let's take a moment to appreciate and truly reflect on the strength, power, and resilience that each of these remarkable women have throughout history, because it shines a light on our own strength, power, and resilience that might be laying dormant, that might not be in use because we're scared and we might feel like we could never be that powerful. But these stories, they're not just narratives of their time, but they're living testaments to the power of femininity, as well as the determination of the human spirit and the profound and lasting impact that we as women can make on society. We can really do it. Each of these women, Hedy Lamarr, Queen Cleopatra, Marilyn Monroe, and Hazel Dorothy Scott, each carved out their own paths. They pushed boundaries and broke barriers in their respective fields. They didn't merely exist within their circumstances, but instead, they shaped their destinies with their own hands, leaving behind legacies that continue to inspire us today. Like, I'm sitting here and all I can think about was, wow, these women did so much. I can't wait to dive into more and see what I can learn for myself and ways that I can apply their strategies and their techniques, their wisdom, and their beauty to achieve the things that I want to achieve. And hopefully you guys are feeling inspired just as much. So as we honor women during this month that highlights us, I hope that these stories have not only informed you, but also inspired you. And I hope that this has sparked a flame in your heart, ignited your spirit, and given you a new perspective on what it means to be a woman of power, influence, and resilience. I encourage you to share these stories with the women in your life to spread the inspiration and honor the spirit of these incredible women. Remember, every woman has the power to make a difference, just like the women we've talked about today. And each of us has the potential to create, to influence, to lead, and to inspire. I urge you to harness your feminine power, stand firm in your convictions, and make your mark on the world. Because you too are also part of this grand narrative. You have the power to shape the course in your own story. And who knows? Maybe people will write books and make movies about you too, and you will be remembered for thousands of years. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this enlightening journey through history, focusing on these incredible women. And as we continue the Stellar Cycles podcast, I look forward to exploring even more untold stories, celebrating more achievements, and learning more from the women who have paved the way for us. To wrap up this episode, I want to remind you guys to follow us on Instagram at Stellar Cycles Pod. You will be able to download a free grocery guide that I have for you where you can know what foods to eat based on where you're at in your cycle. I would love to see ratings and reviews from my wonderful listeners. That helps the podcast grow the most. So until the next episode, spread the good word about Stellar Cycles to your fellow women, and let's all elevate our lives, cycles, and dreams together. Till next time, Stellar Cycles out.